Everybody, welcome on into this edition of the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins, shop.cummins.com. That is the website. Tailgate, Tailg, numeral 8, saves you 10% off this bad boy right here, the Onan PS1000 power station. Numerous other power station models. You wanted portable generators. Well, shoot, those are covered under the promo code as well, Tailgate. Maybe you want one for your RV because you're going to hit the road for the playoff. Fingers crossed. They'll cover that too. Shop.cummins.com. There's a Nole behind all this. His name is Andy. Shout out to Andy. Tailgate saves you 10% off. Take advantage of it. I'm Aslan Hunch of Andy, Jeff Cameron, Tom Lang joining me here. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Big game weekend, everybody. Not just a huge game that we got to talk about. Maybe not a Cat 5. But enough to give you a 50% off an annual membership at warchant.com if you're a first-time subscriber. So do take advantage of that. Gentlemen, I trust you're all well, so let's get to it. Florida State, Miami. Number 4, Florida State, Miami. They don't got a number by their names because they're 6-3. They decided to lose football games on the regular down there. But anyhow, 3:30, Florida State takes on Miami here in Tallahassee. Tom Lang, pregame show with you and Jeff goes down when?
12:30 p.m. Hotel Indigo, 7th float.
Woo.
Gonna be fun.
Just a proper amount of time to build up for this one. Let's start off with you, Jeff. We'll go with H and Head of Beauty. I just want everybody to know, last year, a couple guys on this screen had supreme confidence in Florida State. They were talking 40 burgers, maybe half 100. Another guy on the screen was like, I don't know about that. Let's be careful. It's Miami. Let's show them the proper respect. So it's make it or take it. The two guys were Jeff and Tom. They thought that Florida State was going to annihilate Miami. They were right, so we'll start with them. Jeff, we know the health of Florida State's wide receivers are the number one topic on everyone's mind. Does Florida State need both these guys, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, available and ready to go to beat Miami on Saturday?
No, they don't need both. It would be nice, and it would be preferred. That's for sure. But they don't need both. I do think they're going to need one if we want to make this a little less disconcerting. I think you saw with Florida State's offense, Aslan, that they are kind of pedestrian to some extent at the wide receiver position if both those guys are out. Now, the problem is it wasn't just both those guys. Guys that you think could fill in those slots were also hurt. Hakeem Williams was really surging before his injury, and that's a guy that I think over the last 2 weeks would have done some good things, but he was out. And so you didn't have a superstar to put in there in terms of the athlete. And then I think from there, Portier's been hurt too, another guy on the outside that would have helped you if he was at full strength. And from there, you have kind of a hobbling couple of wide receivers that were put in the game as well. So, Destin Hill's not right. Hopefully they're close to, full health at this point. If they have them both, I feel very good, but you need one of them to keep Miami honest.
Coming out of the practice on Wednesday, the last media availability of the week, Tom, sounded like there was encouraging news on Keon. There was visual evidence of Johnny on Tuesday, but I know you'll be focused on that pregame show with you and Jeff, but you'll also be keeping one eye maybe on warchant.com and Ira's observations from the press box as guys start filing in. How will that change your overall demeanor during the pregame show once and if you do see that both Johnny and Keon are out there and ready to go?
Yeah, like Jeff said. And Jeff, nice elf on the shelf behind you. I see that, by the way. You're getting ready for the season.
It's the Snoop elf. Did you see that?
Snoop elf? Oh, that's outstanding.
Yeah, very good.
Look, I didn't know last week, Aslan and Jeff, I didn't know last week that Florida State would be down as many receivers as they were. Like, beyond the top two, you got to have some viable options behind that. Kentron's playing hobble, Destin Hill, Duspan's not available outright. Like, you need to have a little bit more options, because what Pitt proved last week is that you can stack the box against the run. Florida State doesn't really traditionally successfully run the ball against an even blocking situation, 5 for 5, 6 for 6. It's not like Florida State succeeds consistently in getting 4 and 5 yards on first down in those moments anyway. So when you're in a spot like this, hypothetically speaking, there's no Keon, there's no Johnny, I think Miami would just do the same thing. They love to blitz anyway. They bring a ton of pressures anyway. So now it's they dare Jordan Travis to beat them on the outside, or they dare Jordan Travis to hit the backs and the tight ends out of the backfield. Can Florida State do it? Yes. Principally on the weakness of Miami's offense on the other side of the ball. And, I think at that point, the race for the victory becomes 17 points, 20 points. And I like Florida State's chances to get there. But now your margin of error shrinks very, very thin versus where it would be if these guys could play. It feels like they're going to go, but we'll see. I was surprised that neither were available last week.
Yeah, with them clinching this spot in the ACC championship game, Florida State's going to play 9 straight games without a bye week. So If they can make it through this and have these guys available when these games really do matter, it'd be really impressive. Speaking of impressive, Jeff, I mean, help me walk me through this defense and what's going on. It's incredible what they're doing in the second half of games. And the cynic in me maybe first off looks at, well, it's Garrett Schrader, it's a hobbled Riley Leonard, it's Christian Veyer, it's Mitch Griffiths. But I don't want to take away from the defense. What is going on with this defense in the second half that's like real, that's going to travel, that you think will hold up here in the month of November and hopefully into December and January?
I think it's fair, first of all, to note the level of competition at quarterback. I mean, that's silly not to, right? It hasn't been great. The competition they've faced at quarterback has been, at best, slightly below average to bad. So that's a fair thing to point out. But I do think this is a team that does a very good job of figuring out what teams are doing to them and adjusting. We've seen this a lot. Adam Fuller deserves a lot of credit. There's no doubt about that. When you look at completion percentage and all these other things against success rate, all those things, they do a very good job across the board. They haven't faced great competition, but they also don't give up a lot of big plays. They gave up one big one last weekend to Pitt over the top. Luckily, he recovered on that play and forced a fumble. So even when you do give up a big play, you make a play to kind of get out from under that. But they haven't had a bunch of killers over the top that create momentum for other teams. They do a pretty darn good job against the run overall, and they've been able to create pressures when they get team behind the chains. So I think they're just a good defense. I don't think they're a great defense. By the end of the year, their rankings in some categories will be considered dominant. But I think our eye test tells us they're good. They have depth on the defensive line. If they get you behind the sticks, you're in trouble. They've got better about getting off the field on third down, which has helped them a lot, obviously. They've won the field position battle because of that, and Florida State's been able to create short fields. So I think they're a good defense. I just don't think they're a dominant defense, but I don't think that's going away. I think they're going to remain pretty darn good at playing defense.
And who knows what kind of quarterback Miami's going to have available on Saturday.
Exactly.
Probably nothing all that much better than the meter that you use there, Jeff. Tom, is it deja vu? Is it Groundhog Day? This team, very much like last year, taking advantage of lesser opponents and maybe not getting the proper credit for it, at least defensively now, this side of things. How do you kind of process what Florida State's defense has done relative to the competition they've seen, namely at quarterback?
Yeah, they've done what they're supposed to do. That's what last year was about. If you're a good defense, then you should dominate really bad offenses, and that's what they did. I think objectively speaking, they're better this year on defense. They've got better players on defense. I think to the second half, to that part of the question, I think part of it is when you put the game on ice in the third quarter, maybe at that point, the motivation for the other side to get at a dodge is there, and you're not pressed as much. I also have to give them credit. This is something that I second-guess routinely on the post-game show and in subsequent Jeff Cameron shows during the week on our channel, is this rotation that they have, Aslan, on defense, where they're rotating a lot of guys in the front four. They're rotating in backup linebackers, and in some cases now they're getting more aggressive with the rotation in the secondary. To me, when Jared Verse is on the field for 60 or 65% of the snaps, that kind of drives me nuts, but it's proven to work for them in these situations where the Duke game is a wonderful example. Beyond the quarterback injury, you could tell that they ran out of gas that night, and Florida State had plenty left in the tank. And to your point, when you talk about 9 games in a row, if you're playing the long game, these substitutions add up over the end of the season as you get to the Florida game on the road, as you get to the ACC championship game, which Florida State definitely is now going to play in. I think it all adds together. Bad opponents, the rotation, the depth, the situation, the game, quote-unquote garbage time. I think that's how you put it all together and you get the numbers that you've seen.
All right, well, let's put this matchup under the microscope, which is really nice because Miami's just not all that great again. So we'll see how that's going to play out. We'll get Jeff and Tom's thoughts on it, as well as folks around the Miami program right after this on the Warchant Report powered by Cummins. Whether the power is out or you're out of pocket, be the hero with portable power from Cummins, a global power leader. Onan Power Stations, perfect for mobile lifestyles, small and compact. Cummins Onan Power Stations provide temporary, off-the-grid power. Use it to charge your mobile devices, power your TV for the tailgate, run a fan to cool the party, or light up the after-dark celebration. Cummins offers power stations from 100 to 1,000 watts. These can be very handy during those temporary thunderstorm power outages we often get in the southeast in the afternoons. Use the promo code TAILGATE, TAILG, numeral 8, for a 10% discount at shop.cummins.com. Welcome back into the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. I'm Aslan Hajavandi, joined by Tom Lang, Jeff Cameron. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock, Mondays, Tuesdays, headlines, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and then the pregame show going down Saturday over at Hotel Indigo, 12:30. Do join them. Go to shop.cummins.com. Promo code is tailgate, TAILG, numeral 8. Matt Lasser, our staff writer, called with Gary Ferman over at CaneSport to talk about this rivalry, where Miami is at. Gary's seen a lot. He's also seen a lot of losing from Miami lately. Does he see that in the future? Matt found out for him.
And I am here with Gary Ferman of CaneSport.com, the On3 fan site for the Miami Hurricanes. Let's get right into it, Gary. It seems like you guys have a little bit of a quarterback controversy down there in Miami. Who do you expect to start this weekend?
First of all, controversy is the wrong word. There's no controversy. It's been an implosion, Matt, an absolute implosion. Listen, Tyler Van Dyke is a very good quarterback. You can look back to where Miami played Texas A&M earlier this year, like 370 yards. Miami played great that day, beat Texas A&M. Through the years, he's had many games like that. He put 6 of them together in his first year. He's in his third offensive coordinator in 3 years. That's for starters. And he's just not handling the decision-making process of the offense as well right now as he needs to. And he's been throwing a lot of really bad interceptions. I mean, and it's compromised Miami's season a little bit. You know, I mean, they were able to win a couple games in overtime, but you know, last week at NC State, without question, his interceptions and his inability to see the field and make big plays was the difference in that game. Miami still could have gotten out of there if they made a 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter, but a lot of opportunities went wayward during the course of the full game. So I would have to believe that coming up to Florida State on Saturday that they will start Tyler Van Dyke. It makes the most sense to me. I don't think it's a situation where you would want to throw a raw true freshman and say, go out and win this game against the number 4 ranked team in the country on the road. So I'm expecting Tyler Van Dyke to be out there personally. No announcements have been made. You won't see any announcements. It'll be a game day decision by Mario Cristobal.
Looking at this Miami offense outside of the quarterback position, it seems like you guys have a 4-headed running back attack. Who do you like the most in the backfield? And what other pieces in the offense do you see having to do well to keep this game close against Florida State?
Mark Fletcher's been great. He's a true freshman, physical, just playing phenomenal football. He got them out of the Virginia game in overtime. But he has been good when he hasn't been hurt this year, without question. Miami's been running the ball well, but Florida State's defense is probably going to gear up to stop that and make the quarterback beat them. I mean, that's the logical game plan. When you have a struggling quarterback, make him prove he's not struggling anymore. So if I'm Florida State's defensive coordinators, I'm guessing that they're going to say, we cannot let Miami pound the ball down the field. And that will be probably their first objective because of the way Miami's offensive line has been playing and the running backs have been playing. So ultimately, the quarterback's going to have to play well. There's no getting around it. There's no other game plan that can be put in place. Miami's going to need to get plays out of the quarterback. They're going to need solid play out of the quarterback. So, you know, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I think it's anything goes here. I wouldn't be shocked if they came out and this kid's back to being the same guy he was, and I wouldn't be shocked if he remains in his funk. Can't make a prediction either way, obviously.
And lastly, the same thing as the offense, but with the defense. What pieces do you think have to do well this weekend on defense for Miami to keep it close against Florida State?
They got to get to the quarterback. I don't think they're going to be scared by FSU's run game. With all respects to what FSU did in the run game last year when they ran the counter 29 times, I believe it was, and Miami couldn't stop it. Miami wasn't ready for it, and for whatever reason, Florida State was able to run the same basic play almost half of their snaps and just pound the ball down the field. I don't know that that's going to happen this week. I think Miami's much better up front. I think their run defense is much better this year than it was a year ago. And so to me, the key for Miami's defense is going to be getting to the quarterback and not letting him get comfortable, minimize. You're never going to take those two receivers, as they're too good. You're not taking them out of the game, but you want to minimize the damage that they can do, and the best way to do that is to not let the quarterback throw the ball to him. So get him running around, be physical, and make plays in that way. And I think Miami can stay in the game the whole route.
Once again, that is Gary Ferman with CaneSport.com. Thank you for coming on, Gary. Back to you, Aslan.
Thanks to Matt. Thanks to Gary. Let's turn the attention now to our folks here on the panel. Start with you, Tom Lang. This is an interesting matchup. It's a rivalry. Throw the records out, all that kind of good stuff. But looking at it from the trenches, mainly here, is this the toughest, most complete matchup, I guess, if that's the right way to phrase it, from Florida State's vantage point? Since maybe the Duke game on the lines of scrimmage, Duke had a really senior-laden offensive line, talented guys on defense. Is this the best line since then, or is this maybe the best lines of scrimmage Florida State's seen all year long from a team?
I think maybe in between. In some cases, it's the most complete, definitely since Duke. Might be the most complete since Clemson, before the bye week. There are some things that Miami does well, and they don't do all that great, which I find strange. Like, for example, in pass protection, you'll note they're getting killed a lot lately that they can't protect against three-man fronts, and that's been something that has happened. It's a little bit because Tyler Van Dyke has proven that he doesn't like zone defense all that much. And so teams are dropping 8 into his zone, and he can't handle it all that well, and they're still giving up pressures, but they run block really well. They've done a good job in the portal to fortify their needs there. And then on the defensive side, that front's very good at stopping the run with just the 4, but they love to bring a lot of pressures too. So what I would say is the answer is probably yes, just even with the defensive front 4 for Miami, but they bring pressure nearly half the time, which is a crazy rate to bring more than 4 guys. And that's got to be a part of the equation for Florida State to consider too, is just constant pressure. It's not dissimilar from what Pitt does, but Miami really likes to get downhill from all kinds of angles. And for that reason, Florida State's offensive line, the communication is going to be tested, their toughness, their physicality, all of it. So this is a stout test, especially when Florida State has the football. Yeah.
How do you think it stacks up, Jeff? I mean, LSU, elite offensive line, probably good defensive line. Clemson, elite defensive line, probably good offensive line. Duke, we talked about it. Where does Miami fall kind of on that scale and that spectrum, do you think?
I agree with Tom about the defensive line. I think they're really stout up front, the front 4 anyhow, and they do bring a lot of pressure. I'll be very curious to see if they want to bring as much pressure in this situation, depending on who's healthy for Florida State, because you're going to leave a lot of one-on-one matchups. You're also going to be doing that by going against a very seasoned quarterback who can make you miss and create extra time. And obviously Jordan Travis has been very good against almost any look. What I'm intrigued by while we're talking about the line of scrimmage is Miami's offensive line and the run game. I believe, Aslan, for Miami to have a chance here, this group's been good in the run game. It's been, at times when you look at them, they've been able to run the ball, and I feel like if they had some semblance of consistency at quarterback, they'd be better able to run the ball. But teams have decided to try to take that away because they don't believe Miami can throw it. So they're starting to say, look, you got a broken quarterback, and if you don't have a broken quarterback, you got an inexperienced quarterback. So one of those two guys are playing. We'll take our chances. You're okay on the outside. You're not elite, but we've got to stop this running game because you got 3 backs and a pretty good interior offensive line that create running lanes. And if Miami's able to run it, they're able to shorten games and stay around in these things. And that's what they did against Clemson. Time of possession, shorten the games. That's what they want to do to protect their quarterbacks. That's what they want to do to protect their team as a whole. They don't want more plays. They want less plays. So if this offensive line can run on Saturday, they got a chance to be in the game in the second half. They've shown at times they can do that against good teams, but other times it's gone away. Once that got shut down, they've allowed a ton of pressures. Tom pointed out 3-man pressures. There are moments, there are stretches over the last 3 weeks where they're ranked in the hundreds in terms of pass protection. So that'll happen when you can't run the ball and you become one-dimensional.
Tom, on paper, everything seemingly favors Florida State on this. And then when you start thinking about, offensively, the success they would have, is this simply one of these games where Mike Norvell will be on full display because of the way that he sort of sets things up, the smarts in which he deploys all of his talent? Or is this going to be one of these games where it doesn't matter how you set it up and your rhythm as a play caller? It's just going to be who's more physical, especially on these lines of scrimmage.
It's interesting. I think part of it will be dictated by how much Miami wants to attack. I think if you were just straight up trying to run the ball, say on first down and second and neutral downs, I don't know that Florida State will be able to succeed consistently because they haven't proven that they can up to this point against lesser fronts. So I think in a way, the answer is yes, that scheme matters more. How Mike Norvell wants to attack Miami. This is a great test, Aslan, because I think, the formula for Florida State in a lot of these games after the bye week is we're not threatened by your offense, so we're going to keep things as vanilla as possible when we have the football. But I want to see if there's a through line from what they learned against Clemson, which dared Florida State to throw to the perimeter. Jordan Travis even said it in the postgame that he felt disrespected that Clemson was going one-on-one on the perimeter with his receivers. Well, you have seen some new wrinkles here and there from Virginia Tech all the way through last week at Pitt. How much does Mike Norvell pull out of the bag of tricks for this game? You can air out a lot of different things. You got North Alabama on the other side of it. So long story short, I think scheme does matter in addition to the strength here. Maybe the scheme matters a little bit more than it would against an opponent like a Syracuse or a Pitt.
What do you think, Jeff? I mean, this front's aggressive from Miami. They're going to want to make the big play to change the momentum of this game. But is that the kind of thing that Mike Norvell relishes because he knows he can use the screen game and the misdirection game to create big plays?
It's a good point, Aslan. They've really broke out the screen game a lot lately. So that's on film. So I wonder what Miami does to combat that. Obviously, I would think that if you're an opposing defensive coordinator, you recognize they'll go to that. They'll also go to the quick game, and they also will attack from whence you came. They've thrown the ball in the middle of the field if you bring pressure with your linebackers. So Mike's done a really good job of countering some of the looks that defenses have given him because defenses do know that Florida State cannot line up and run the ball traditionally. They don't have the offensive line for it. It's not a dominant group. You've got to incorporate Jordan's legs in order to create a running game. And the other thing you have to do, and that's a math problem for defenses, the other thing you have to do is spread them out, get them out of the box, throw the football to start a football game, and then run the football once you've got them out of there. So with the lack of a traditional running game, I think Florida State does have to be creative scheme-wise, but Mike loves this, and he always has a little something extra for Miami. He has a really good script to start games against Miami. He's done that since he's been here. Even when the team wasn't any good, they still went right down the field against Miami. So I think Mike's getting a real good sense of who and what Florida State is right now, what his offense is, what his offensive line can and cannot do, what personnel he can trust. It's just a matter of health. If he's got a healthy unit here, he's got a lot of things at his disposal because he's shown that he can go game to game and change it up.
Well, we change it up. I think every single person on this panel for the last 9 games has picked Florida State to win. Let's see if we can continue that trend. We'll do it after this. Picks coming up on the Warchant Report powered by Cummins. Check out the mobile power solutions from Cummins, a global power technology leader. Own-in portable generators are versatile portable generators for your everyday or on-the-go power requirements. Choose a model to power your lifestyle, from working on a DIY construction project, tailgating from your pickup truck, or powering your critical home appliances during Florida hurricane season and power outages. Cummins offers own-in portable generators from 2,500 to 9,500 watts. Use promo code TAILGATE, that's TAILG, numeral 8, for a 10% discount on a P2500i at shop.cummins.com. The P2500i can power you for 10 hours on only 1 gallon of fuel, and its double insulated housing keeps you humming at a peaceful 52 decibels. Get it again for 10% off using the promo code TAILGATE at shop.cummins.com. Welcome back in. I'm Aslan Hajavani, joined by Jeff Cameron, Tom Lang, Jeff Cameron Show. Warchant, Director of Original Content. Tom Lang doing everything for you over at warchant.com. Don't forget, it's the big game special, 50% off an annual membership for first-time subscribers. Take advantage of it. No promo code needed. Just go to warchant.com. You do need a promo code to save 10% off the greatest generators out there from the power leader. That is Cummins, hooking you folks up with that tailgate promo, TAILG numeral 8. Save 10% off not only these portable power stations, but portable generators, an RV generator model. And shoot, you need a maintenance kit for these things sometimes. And they got those as well, 10% off those as well. Check it out, shop.cummins.com. Again, promo code TAILGATE, TAILG, numeral 8. Let's hear from the rest of the warchant.com staff now on how they think this will size up between Florida State and Miami. It's prediction time.
Florida State Seminoles are facing one of their biggest rivals this Saturday in the Miami Hurricanes, and they're going to look to go 10-0 and then 3 in a row against their much disliked rivals to the south. And I think that's going to happen. And I think Vegas absolutely nailed this thing. Last I saw, the line is 14.5 points, favoring FSU. I like that a lot. I think that's about right. Now, I don't know whether Tyler Van Dyke is going to play. I don't think it really matters. He's played so poorly lately, or they're going to put in a freshman. Either way, I think they're going to struggle a little bit offensively because of that and because of what's happened lately to them. And I do think everything's trending for Florida State to have its two big weapons, Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, in this game. With all that being played in, I like the Noles, 32-17.
All right, guys, this should be a really fun Florida State-Miami game. Even though the point spread says it's not going to be a real competitive game, Florida State's favored by 15 points. I do think it's going to be a very competitive football game. I think Miami's defense is pretty solid. They're capable of making plays, creating turnovers. Their offensive line's not bad, especially when it comes to running the football. I think it's going to be a decent football game, but I do think Florida State's going to win and cover because I think you're going to see some of the familiar faces that we didn't see last week against Pitt back in the lineup against Miami. So I think Florida State's going to win. I'm going to say 31-14 to improve to 10-0 in the season. And the Hurricanes are going to go back to Coral Gables with 4 losses, which might hurt Mario's feelings a little bit, but I think we're all okay with that.
What's up, Nole fans? You're seeing me in a cinematic view on my new iPhone. I hope it looks as good as I could have ever imagined. Anyway, go into the game, what you probably really care about, not just my iPhone purchase. Look, I think Miami is good on both lines of scrimmage. Rivalry games can be goofy. They're tricky. Florida State has a lot of pressure on it. I don't foresee how Miami can score enough points to win this game. So I'm predicting Florida State 30 because I think Miami's probably the second, maybe third best defense Florida State's played, maybe second. So 30-13, Florida State moves to 10-0 and 3 straight against the Canes.
I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think it is. 14.5 point spread seems way too high for a rivalry game, especially when it always seems like Miami can play this team close at Doak. Miami's a really good defensive line and a really good rushing attack as well. Because of that, I think this game, it'll still be kind of high scoring. I think it'll be 30-20 FSU.
Thanks, everybody out there, for making their picks and their predictions. The Warchant.com staff. Go ahead and make yours in the comment section if you would like. Now we turn to this panel. They called it. They were bullish. They were confident. Some said overconfident. Some said arrogant. But they were just simply accurate. Florida State took down Miami. These guys said it. Let's see what they think this time around. Tom Lang, we will start with you. 3:30, Florida State taking on Miami. It's a rivalry game. We know all the cliches. How do you see it shaking out on Saturday in Doak Campbell Stadium?
I want that 40 burger. I need that 40 burger, but I don't know that they're going to get that 40 burger. So I'm not going to call for it. It's going to be close, though. I think this is all it's a broken record this side of the bye week where it's the opposing offense is lackluster, and that paves the way for Florida State to pull away late. So I think FSU will be in control of this game for the vast majority of it. Miami might shorten it a bit. In the end, Florida State comes up just shy of the 40 burger. Final score, Florida State 38, Miami 10.
Ooh, I think we'll be. Oh, you're shaking your head. What's going on over there? What's going on over there, Jeff Cameron?
I knew he was going to take my score.
Oh.
I knew he was going to do it. This damn thief friend of mine was going to take my score. He didn't quite take it, so I've got wiggle room, and I'll say Florida State 38, which was my score all along. By the way, I think I've either picked 38 or 37 every week for Florida State for a number of weeks. I'm not going to shake it up now. I'll go 38-14. 38-14, which has been a pretty consistent prediction. Florida State's totals, when you look at plays, Aslan in the 60s pretty much every week, their opponent in the 60s every week. Florida State typically gets into the 30s if they're healthy. The opponent, here and there, somewhere between 10 and 17. So I just keep saying 38-14.
I know the spread is making me make the calculations, and I'm starting to do like a low 40s, high 30s versus a 20s, and it's like, what? How do you score? And I'm not trying to make it sound like the steel curtain, but that offense, how are they going to score 23 points or whatever against Florida State? I think it's so. I'll go Florida State 34, Miami 17.
It's not bad. I like that prediction. I wrestled with that one, Aslan. That's close. I mean, once you guys see the total come out to at 50, 51, wherever it's at right now, you start doing the math. You're like, well, how do we get there? And you do. At first, you're like, well, if I have Florida State scoring 30, Miami must score 20. And then you go, Miami scoring 20. And that's kind of the game you have.
Exactly. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Those are the predictions for everybody here at warchant.com. We thank you all for watching. Don't forget pregame show, 12:30. Jeff Cameron, Tom Lang, Hotel Indigo. There's a tailgate up there. You can hang out, watch a show, have a drink, have some food. Get ready for the game. Best views in town when you're getting ready to head to Doak Campbell Stadium. Following 10 to 15 minutes after the game, the post-game show presented by DeLuna Coffee with Gene Williams and Tom Lang, taking your phone calls, comments here on YouTube. Sound off. Enjoy yourself. Feels like it's going to be a really good Saturday. We hope it is too. Hope you enjoyed watching this edition of the Warchant Report powered by Cummins. For Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang, I'm Aslan Hajavandi. Thanks so much for watching. And don't forget, again, big game special, 50% off an annual membership for first-time subscribers over at warchant.com. Have a great one, everybody.